Hello, good evening, welcome. Good evening, welcome. My name is Kwabena, welcome. I want to share with you from being an employee to starting a business. From being an employee to starting a business. We do what we do for the love of our country and for the love of our people, for the love of mankind. Whatever that you have any inspiration in, whatever that we have any knowledge in, we have to share. You never know who you are being a blessing to by sharing what you know. Every now and then I get information, I get messages, I get, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, people I know, people I don't know, friends who once a while throw this kind of question that I am this, I want to start a business. I am this, I am thinking of starting a business. I have this, I want to consider starting my own company. I just want to share some kind of information that I think will be beneficial to people in that kind of situation. Not everybody starts a business by just knowing what to do. Sometimes people are pushed into a situation where for the only reason of livelihood, they start to think of, what can I do with my life at this moment? Maybe the other day you were employed with very good job, good salary, and then something just happened. Maybe some of the bosses made wrong decisions. Something just happened, and you found yourself redundant. They told you to go home, and then you have been thinking, where do I move from here? You may have gone to write CVs everywhere, and maybe over a year or two nobody is calling you. Should that be a good enough reason for you to start a business? And you could also be, some people have never worked at all. They have never had any employment. They so wish that they could have it, and it's just not coming. It doesn't just come. You write everywhere, you don't get it. The government says that they'll employ you, you don't get it. That is a different kind of situation. But when you have worked for a while, you have tasted some salary somewhere. Yeah, maybe you are even a manager in some kind of organization, and then the situation happens, and you find yourself that the only option now is to start a business, or maybe you decided to start a business yourself, and you confuse it with being employed. Because for most people, when they see somebody do business, they think that it is just another way of getting salary. So they see you move around trying to do something, and they think that you are just doing it because you want salary. And so let's look at what we can share. It is one of the topics that I think is important. I think the first one you would have to know is that being employed and starting a business are not the same. And it's difficult for anybody to explain it to you until you start one. They are word apart. It's never the same. Some people have some kind of things they do when they have a business, when they have employment. So they have employment somewhere, they do some kind of other things around, and they say that they are doing business, which is true. But they largely do those things because they want extra revenue. But when you are doing it fully and you have no salary coming in at the end of the month, that is a whole different thing. And so the first thing that I will submit, it will be their understanding that being an employee and being on a journey to start a business, or starting a business, or running a business, they are not the same. They're word apart. One is you just work, and somebody else would have to find a way to pay you. You don't worry about a lot of things. You don't worry about where the salary is coming from. You just sign a contract, so they have to pay you. Even if they don't have money, You don't care if it's they pay you 20 feet and the 20 feet has come and they have not paid you. You just go sit somewhere and insult everybody. You have worked for these people and they have not paid us, even though you didn't work. You didn't work to deserve that kind of money anyway, most people. And being the one who is responsible for paying somebody's salary is a different thing. Now the electricity, the business, the water, the telephone, everything rests with you. You can't go far if you're not able to shift what I call the employee's mindset. You are not able to shift from the employee's mindset to the mindset of owning a business or maybe even starting a business. One is comfort. One is security. One is predictable income. Every month you have to have it. You don't care what happens. The other one is unpredictability. The other one is not predictable. The other one is not secure. The other one is not comfortable. And it's a whole different thing. So you should be able to shift that mindset from just being an employee, no matter who you are. You could be the CEO of any big organization or a cleaner. The feeling is the same. You don't want trouble. You want dignity. You want respect. You want to be seen as somebody who is very much responsible. That kind of thinking. You don't want to make mistakes at all. That kind of thinking is largely with people who have been employed. When you are responsible for the business, you want respect, but at the beginning, you don't need it. You want the salary to be predictable. You want the business to come in. But at the beginning, it's not like that. You want security. But at the beginning, it's not like that. So you should be able to shift that mind from waiting to be paid and being the one to go through this process that a lot of people fear. So everything rests with you. If you start the business, nobody is responsible, especially for the problems. Nobody is responsible. And if things don't work out as you intended them to work out, you can't run to anybody because you are the one. If the employee is on their work and nothing works out, if the business collapses, he can go and get another job quickly. If the business collapses on you, you cannot just jump and say that I don't care. You may have incurred losses. There may have been some debt somewhere. Some suppliers may be calling you. Some creditors may be on your neck. Even some taxes. And Senate and everybody. So there's a whole different thing. I'm employing a company. If it doesn't work out, I just take my shirt and move. I'll go to look for another job, But if it doesn't work out and you are the one responsible, you cannot just move. And so one of the things that you would want to look at is look at your heart. The reason you want to start this business. Yes, you may have been made redundant. You may have been, fired from the job. You may find yourself in a situation where you just have to start something anyway, anyhow. But look at the bottom of your heart. What is pushing you? Genuinely. Is it just the money that is pushing you to start a business? Or you think that there are some kind of problems that you can solve? The money can push you, but it will not be a good reason for you to keep going. Because it may not come that readily, because it's not salary. There are a lot of things that you're going to do before you get the money. So it's different. You should decide within your heart, why do I want to do this? The Africans, myself, yourself, majority of us, most of us, behave like Africa has been industrialized. So most of us have been conditioned to only look for job, especially if we went to school. If you went to school, most people will never dare to start any business because the content of what they gave us was for industrialized economy. We have not been industrialized. We have not gone through that. Yet the psyche of the people who have gone to school, the way we do our things, it's as if we've been industrialized. And so the jobs are everywhere. The jobs are everywhere. You can just get anywhere and get a job. The fact is that majority of our people will go through a lot of things to find a job. And so when you lose your job, getting another one is not that readily available. Those are the facts. No matter the skills that you have, no matter how technical you are, it will take a while. Unless maybe some political forces somewhere is trying to push you to. It's also, there is that general thinking of how much we've been mesmerized and consummated in thinking that the jobs are there. So once I don't find another one, I can move on to find another one. It's not like that. The reality is that the jobs have that, the jobs that you will call decent are not there because we're still in a very basic level of growth in terms of industrialization. So the unemployment will go on. So sometimes when you have a general skill in working with some of these institutions and you're fired, you just have to think of a way to start to do something for yourself. Or you could be in the house for years. But you have to become a particular person to start a business. The fact that you know how to produce a product or service working in some kind of company does not necessarily mean that you can build a business around it. And so let's say you can produce, what is it? Let's say you can produce maybe, you work with a construction company, so you know how to build. So you can read the drawings and everything and build. The fact that you can build does not mean that you have trained to build a construction company. They are different things. Before, somebody else was doing everything to get the project, and then they put you there as an engineer and you do everything. Now you want to start a construction company. It's not the same. It's not the same at all. Now you have to have mechanism to get the project. You have to have mechanism to get the money. You have to have the gift or the talent or the skill to know how to partner and to pick somebody and train. You have to have the discipline to handle the finances, the emotional instability, the torturing of running a business and starting. Are you able to even convince your family that this is what you want to do? And the lack of respect and dignity that comes with it. Because most people, before you were a chief engineer on a very big project and maybe your wife or your husband was very proud of you. Your mates were everywhere talking about you. This guy is the chief engineer in charge of that project. They'll be calling you every day. And you are even the one giving people jobs and opportunities. And now you decided to, or maybe the project came to an end, or they fired you, or you decided to quit to start your business. That kind of respect, majority of the people who were hailing you because you had a job don't understand. And so are you able to package yourself to deal with this kind of counter forces at the initial stages? One of the things that you can convince yourself and to get a lot of energy to keep going when everybody else does not even believe in your vision and in your dream will be the fact that conviction to start a business is what Africa needs. Majority of us would have to start something to create opportunities and to create employment. So that conviction, the love for the country, the love for the continent should be that much in you. It cannot be just because you want money. That way, you don't have to suffer to build a business to get money. Especially not the one that to buy the car and to build the house. You would want to keep that respect and go to get another job. That is if you can find one that readily. but a full conviction in seeing the need for people who can start businesses. That full conviction can keep you going. The love that you have for the country, the love that you have for the people, the love that you have for your continent. Because the fact is that majority of our people should be starting businesses. They should be starting businesses because that is how the continent is going to develop. It's not just starting business to get money to feed your family. No, maybe that is important, but really, it's people who have worked somewhere, have acquired some kind of basic skills, coming to build industries, building businesses, companies, and creating opportunities is what the continent needs. But it's not in the psyche. It's not in our thinking. Majority of your friends is not part of them. It's not their duty to develop the continent. And so when you shift from being an employee to starting a business, one of the things that will encourage you and to keep you going when everything else seems like it's not working will be the fact that what you're doing is so much needed in the country and on the continent. That conviction alone will make you not to stop. But if you shift it to only look at your interests, you will not take that pain. You will not take that struggle. You will not sacrifice like that. You will look for your comfort. One of the things that you will see among a lot of Africans, especially us, is because we lack the ability to focus on one thing to get results. Majority of us lack the ability to focus, to decide to say that this is what I want to do, and I want to focus on it till I get results. Most of us hedge. Most of us have a lot of plan Bs. So that's why you can have a lecturer with a side business, who is a caterer, who is a politician, who is a pastor. People are doing all kinds of things. That's why they don't become effective at any one thing. And so when you decide to start a business, you have to have that ability to focus and concentrate your energy, your resources, your time to say that this is what I want to do. And I want to do it until I get results. That will get you results. But why most people fail, because when you start to make that shift, you're going to meet people who have been in the same situation that you were. They were employed and they decided to go and start a business, and they went there, and the force was, the pressure was so much for them, the stress was so much for them, the difficulty was so much for them, and they gave up. One of the reasons why they gave up is that they were not focused. They had not decided. They were not prepared. Because until you focus, anything else can move you out of your dream. And as I said, most of us focusing on something to get results is not part of our training. It's not part of our training. So when you want to move from being an employee to starting a business, you have to have that conviction that I'm going to focus on this thing till I get results. I'm going to put a lot of energy in it, and no matter what happens, I'm going to stay with it until I get results, until I start to see. Because that is what it's going to take actually for you to get results. Remember, it's not you working to get salary. It's a word apart. It's different from it. Now you're moving to start a business. The business has so many things involved. But most people just shallowly, give some kind of estimation as to what it will take them, it will take of them to start a business and to become successful. They're underestimate. And so they just want to do everything and have a side business. It's not side business that we're talking of. We are talking of somebody who is moving from being an employee, no matter what the situation may have been, whether they were fired or the business collapsed, whatever it is. And now they move to a place where they said, I want to start a business. That side, you need a lot of focus. You need a lot of conviction. You need a lot of concentration. And as I said, majority of our people lack that. So in Ghana, you see a lot of people do 4 things. There's no focus. It's in everywhere. It's a teacher, it's a politician, it's a communication, something. It's a marketer somewhere, it's a part-time teacher. It says that he has another business somewhere. You don't need to dissipate your time like that. You have to just become one and become very good in it. And starting a business is like that. Concentrate on what you're doing until you see results. But you will give up if you don't have that ability to concentrate till you get results. The so-called middle class in our country, the so-called middle class, I don't know if you have any, but they say that we have. So I would say the middle class, they call them, which I don't think we have anyway, being conditioned to be that much self-interested. They only look at your interest. And so when you move from being an employee to becoming a business person and starting a business, it cannot be self-interest. You have to shell off, you have to pull off that, take off that cloth, that thinking of all looking at that which benefits you and benefits you and your family alone. Starting a business is not just you and your family. And so that conditioning, they have conditioned us, and you can see it in all our choices. Most of the people that we call middle class, look at their choices, look at their decisions. Look, it's only themselves, their salary, and their children. You cannot carry that kind of thinking and start a business. It will collapse because you will not be able to bear the pain. You will not be able to bear the losses. You will not be able to take the risk because the kind of condition that you've been used to is comfort. It's comfort. Look at the guys who work in all these insurance companies and banks and all those. It's comfort. The aspirations of their life is comfort. They look for comfort, look for self-interest. And you cannot look for comfort and self-interest if you want to build a company or build business and possibly employ somebody. Because it will go beyond just your self-interest. You will now have the burden to train people. You have the burden to pay salaries to people, even if you're not making profit, even if the business is collapsing. You have the burden of others. When your employee is sick, it's your burden. And so if you want to move from being an employee to starting a business, you have to take off that conditioning to just be self-focused and self-interested. And you don't want to risk anything. You don't want controversy. You don't want you don't even want to share what you know because they live in secrecy. They're self-absorbed. That is the kind of training that you've been given. But if you want to start a business, those things won't happen, especially if you started a new one. And don't forget that what we call the so-called because if you didn't have any job and you were starting a business, you will not be that much concerned because after all, you don't have anything anyway. You don't have anything. So he who is down fears no fall. So if you finish school and you didn't have anything and they said, I come and start a business, you don't care. You just go and start. Maybe, maybe it will work, maybe it will not work. Now, the only reason you're concerned is because you had work somewhere. You work somewhere. You enjoy a particular lifestyle. And they deceive you to believe that you are successful. Because of the salary that they were paying you, because of the car that they gave you, because of the house that you built, or the suit and the tie that you were wearing, the title that they gave you. You bought that deception that you were that much different from everybody else. And now you lost that job and all your life is dropped. The pride will not still leave you. So you still think that you're better than the guy selling on the street. So there are a lot of opportunities that you will never even want to get involved in because of your background, because of where you worked, because of the tag, because of, so that you classify yourself as a middle income person. The fact is that the middle income person in Africa and the middle income person in some other places, they are not the same middle income. This Africa has a lot of issues. So if you work somewhere and you want to start a business, see it as a burden to apply the expertise that you had to build something and possibly to give somebody, even if it's one person, an opportunity to work and to train and to impart your knowledge. That kind of philosophy will make you never to give up. One of the biggest sectors, one of the biggest sectors, if not the biggest, of our economy is not industrialization. We are not producing a lot of things, but it's agriculture. But very few of us will ever dare to go into it. Why? Because you have gone to school. You are polished. Very few of us. Especially if you have to start with nothing. If you have to start with nothing, it's difficult for most of us to go and become farmers. Majority is not in the psyche. And yet that is a big area that most people can easily move to. So you have to shift and openly lose that kind of pride that you have. You should be ready to start anything, anywhere, so far as it's legal and it's morally acceptable. So you may be whatever that you may be. If it need be that you have to start a cocoa farm, if it need be that you have to start a plantain farm, a cassava farm, the advantage that you may have is that you may be able to organize that business that quickly than the other person who may never have worked in a so-called formal sector. Okay, but the disadvantage that you have is that you are not robust and strong and rough enough to endure the challenges of you trying to build a company or trying to build a business. And so you should be open. If you have to trade something, you have to trade it. You have to wholesale anything, you have to wholesale it. Put the so-called education that you had, put it somewhere. Because it's just for profession, it's not for business. Okay, so the doctor, the lawyer, the teacher, the engineer, if you find yourself in a situation that you want to start a business and you have the passion and you think that you can develop the expertise for it, don't let that background prevent you from going for your dream. Never. Don't be deceived that, I'm a doctor. How can I start a Kalewele business? You're a doctor. Just a doctor? Yes, you're a doctor. Give paracetamol somewhere. But if you want to start a business and it's Kalewele business that you want to start, or selling pork that you want to start, selling chinchinga that you want to start, selling plantain somewhere that you want to start, it's a business. It's a product that you are dealing with. What makes a business different is the infrastructure that you're able to build around it. And that possibly you may have. The standard that you can lift any business is not so much the product, but whoever is building the business infrastructure. For instance, water. People sell water on the street in a sachet, okay? And Vortic sells the same kind of water. What is the difference? The difference is the business infrastructure that Vortic has built. So you may have the same kind of capacity to pick any primary product anywhere and build the whole business around it. Because so far as there is a need for that product, and so far as you can build systems and structures and train people, it becomes a business. So there's a shift. But if you let your background, you are looking for, I want to start an IT company, I want to start a bank, I want to start an engineering firm. You want to pitch so much high, yet you may not have the skill, you may not have the money, you may not even have the connections and the expertise to pitch your business that high. But you may have something around that you can develop ground up. But the pride, because they told you that you're middle class, they told you that you have gone to school, and you believe it. You believe it. Never let the kind of employment that you enjoyed, if they fired you, because some people, when you meet them, they work somewhere for 10 years, and they fire them or the company collapse. But they are still in the last 10 years. When you meet them, that's what they talk about all the time. They have not moved on. Because they bought a lie. Because they bought a car for you, they bought a house for you, they were paying your children's school fees. All those packages that they came with, they may have destroyed you. So now it's so difficult for you to bring yourself down to pick any idea and build it. And so my name is Obin Dalko. I am talking about moving from being an employee to starting a business. And a lot of it would have to do with your philosophy of life, the way you see yourself, before it even comes to the understanding of how a business is set, how a business is staged. Because if you're not able to correct the philosophies, especially the wrong ones, you will not stay. You will run away. Because having worked somewhere, you have colleagues, you have friends, and you may not even be proud to tell the people that want to go and start a business. They will tell you that, you see, Kwabena almost all my business be almost on it. They will laugh at you. If you have not worked on your philosophy, what they say will get to you. Because you stayed there. And you probably were also laughing at others. Because you don't understand what it takes to build a business. And you don't even understand the numbers that comes with it. Because you've been conditioned to wait every month and to receive some kind of salary. And you think that you have money. Some people are selling only cake. And they make in a day what you make in a month. And it's cake that they are selling. Some people are selling kenke. And they make in a day what you make in a month. But the pride will not leave you. Because when you work in some of these areas, they pump you. So that you can keep coming. And they make you feel like you're better than everybody else. And that is the spirit that makes a lot of employees not comfortable to start a business. That spirit of pomposity. You believe that you have standard. So when you meet your friend who you finish the same school with who does not have a job and you have a job, you think that you're better than that person. And now you find yourself without a job. How are you going to reconcile that? And that kind of thinking, if you keep on processing that way of thinking, you cannot move from being an employee to starting a business. You can't. Because for you to think to start a business and start it genuinely and from that ground level, you would have to have a very humble heart and a very simple disposition as a person. And you would have to have a very fighting spirit, and don't care that much about what people think. If you don't have that kind of framework, it will be difficult for you to shift. Now, if you're able to shift, the next thing will be identify the kind of business that you want to do, look out for the need that there is, and continuously study, build yourself. You cannot have the same kind of knowledge on business like the other one who's employed. You would have to consume a lot of data, a lot of information, change your mind, and study about the area that you want to do the business in. And once you start, the thing is that you can start all those. You can study, but it comes to a point, business is about starting. And you don't have any perfect condition to start a business. You just have to start. So having done all the things that you think you have done, if it's your first business, it's not going to be as you, no matter how much well you plan, it's not going to be as that. You still will have some level of errors, some level of mistakes. So the thing is that if you have convinced yourself that this is what you want to do, then you have to start. You have to start, because until you start, you don't get the revelation. Until you start, you don't get the knowledge expanded, the wisdom increase. You don't get that. So the confidence to start, the courage to start is what you need. Is what you need. And this side business, you may just have to find yourself without job. So now you have done all the analysis and maybe you have 200 Ghana. Just start. Just start. Because until you start, you don't know what you're talking about. No matter how many business plans that you have written, no matter how many financials that you have done, SWOT analysis, all those things that they teach you in school, until you start, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like driving. No matter what they teach you in the driving school, Until you hit the road, you don't know. Because you need courage to be on the road and to meet all those cars that are coming and to apply the brakes and possibly get an accident or hit somebody. It calls for courage. And that's why they say business is about risk taking. So you have to, nobody is comfortable with risk taking, but it's part of it. It's part of the game. And so after all the analysis that you have done, after all the consultations that you have done, you have asked everybody their opinion, you have done all those things, it gets to a point you just have to start and be ready for whatever comes up. Be ready for whatever comes up. And when you start and things don't go as you expected, don't run away. Don't give up. Keep at it. And until you have put over 10 years in something that you're doing, especially business, don't tell us that you understood it. You only have an excuse of having tried when you have put in over 8 years into that and you were not successful. And the fact is that nobody who continuously grows in what they're doing, gives a lot of attention, concentration, develops themselves, grow, fight forward, and nobody who puts those kind of years in anything, who will not see success. Will not see success. So when you move from being an employee to starting a business, don't give yourself 1 month. Say that I'll go, if it's 1 month, it doesn't work, I'm going back. That's why we live in a country where most people think that the jobs are just there. Most people think like that. They think like we're an industrialized economy. We are not an industrialized economy. We are not there yet. We have companies that are trying to process something, but we are not industrialized, which means that the jobs are still going to be that much limited. You are producing a lot of people out of school. So when they fire you from there, they push somebody there. It's not like they are just going to put you there. So when most people, when they lose the job, they will be in the house for a very long time. Okay, so if you have that tendency to start a business and you have thought through all those and you start and things don't go as you expected, don't give up. That's what it takes. But most of our people lack that energy, especially the men. There are 2 things that you may have to master. You would have to master the finances, and you would have to master the people. Shift. The way you handle your finances when you're an employee is not going to be the same way that you're going to handle your finances when you have a business. And the way you treated people when you're an employee is not the same kind of thing that you can do if you want to build that business. The word apart. The money is the bloodline of the business. You are going to go through a lot of pressure and pain and struggle until you get the money, things right later. And you are going to have a lot of disagreement and a lot of betrayals and a lot of things that people bring if you don't study the people and improve on that skill as well. So the 2 major things, these 2 can make you succeed that faster or can make you delay for a very long time. So when you have been able to shift your philosophy, your emotional maturity and stability, and you'll be able to identify the business that you're doing, you should be able to master the money, and you should be able to master the people skill as well. And when the money gets you into trouble, because when you're an employee and you lose the 2 cedis of your salary, you become very much disturbed. The fact is that when you start a business, you lose money. That's why the philosophy must shift. You will lose money. People will cheat you. People will lie to you. People will screw you. People will run away with your money. Those things will happen. but they are not supposed to stop you from getting to your goals. And so moving from an employee to starting a business is not just moving to just get something to do so that you can get extra revenue. That's not what I'm talking about. If you just want extra revenue, keep the job or go and look for another job and just have that side business, which most people, that's what they believe in. But if you want to start something that you hope and believe and work towards, that it can become a company that will employ people and solve problems in society and possibly become one of the best companies and big companies, you have got to become somebody different from just being an employee, in thinking especially. In thinking. Because when they go to work 9 o'clock and they close 5, when you are the business, you start the work 6 and 12 o'clock you are still working. Okay, so when they put in 3 hours, sometimes you meet some people, the way they work somewhere and they get paid and they say that they want to start their business, just advise them that please don't start. Just stay where you are. Why? Because you are not that hardworking. You're not that focused. You're not that serious. If the business, you started it, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of diligence and persistence. A lot of long hours of working and calculation and planning and negotiation and disagreement. Stretching. In some countries, they do a lot of research on people who start businesses, and the statistics are not good. Why? It's because the people, a lot of them, must develop themselves to understand the journey that they have embarked on, and not to break down, because it's a high pressure journey. Okay, and most people who are that much conditioned to be self-focused and self-interested, they just focus on their self-interest. Those kind of people, when they start anything and it doesn't work, they give up that quickly. They give up that quickly. So there's a shift. And don't forget that if you're able to succeed in that, what somebody else, the thing about business is that when you start, it's difficult. But if you start to do it well, it gets to a point it becomes explosive. The other people with who were that much focused and building their life, they will find it easy from the beginning. But it gets to a point it becomes difficult. Okay, it becomes difficult. So it's like when you start a business here, and some people will just, they are torn between. There are other distractions that you also know. When you start a business and you're not getting success, sometimes you would want to just leave the business and travel and go to another country. Or sometimes they will even tell you that go and do those things that they do. Go and do masters or go and do PhD, all those things. And you finish them, you don't even know what to use them for. Now, if you leave that dream that you have and rush to another country, yes, in the beginning, you may have a car and a house, but the latter part of your life is different. Here, it may be difficult in the beginning, but you keep the pressure. The opportunities and the successes will overwhelm you. So, my name is Sopintako. I am talking about moving, from being an employee to starting a business. And I am trying to wrap up. And the point is that the first thing that you have to move is the mindset. The mindset. Starting a business and being an employee, they are not the same. So employees wait for salary and they commit that much to get paid. Most of them don't worry that much about the business when they go home. Now, if you start a business, nobody's going to pay you, at least not a few years. And when you go home, the business goes home. So that shift of mind. There's no security, there's no comfort, there's no safety anywhere. You have got to endure a lot of things till the business can provide those things for you. Okay, so if you found yourself, you lost a job and you've been contemplating of starting a business, the awareness is good for you. You'll be aware what you're trying to push yourself into. And when they say that some people are born entrepreneurs, nobody is born an entrepreneur. It's training and conditioning. It's the environment that you grew up in. And sometimes your personal, personal disposition. But nobody have been trained to be an employee. And nobody has been trained to create jobs for people. It's conditioning. So when you start, everything will rest on you. But look at the heart, the strength of your heart. Because if you have the passion and the love for the business that you built, then nothing else will stop you. And that passion and that love should not only link with the money, but ultimately it should link with your sense of being, with your reason. You virtually would have to see it as a core. And the lives that you can improve, the opportunities that you can create for people. That is strong enough to keep you going when everybody else disagrees and comes against you. And when everything does not work. That conviction that you are prepared to do this and you have what it takes to do it. You have the skill, you have the expertise, you virtually were born to build this, to create that force, to create that change. If you have that kind of conviction, you will do a lot. So you should be able to understand the product or the services that you want to give, and don't follow this African mindset as if somebody else was born for us, for them to create jobs, and we were born to look for jobs. As a matter of fact, if any people would have to have a lot of their people creating jobs, it should be the Africans. It should be the Africans. So we have not industrialized it, so the unemployment is going to go up. So don't deceive yourself. Sometimes if you've been in the house for 2 years, 3 years, you may as well think of starting something and starting something and thinking that it can also become a business that will employ people. So focus. That's something we call focus. Most of our people can't focus. They give options. They want to become everything. They want to become everything. The other time I was talking to a young man, he's an engineer, he wants to become a pastor, he wants to become an innovator, he wants to become this. I said, no, just stay with one. At least when you succeed in one, then later maybe you can focus on the other one. When you disperse your energy like that, it's difficult for you to succeed in one. And until you succeed, your confidence is not, it's not up. So when you start a business, give energy to it. Focus on it. Stay with it. Pay attention to it. I used to play keyboard. And friends who know me say, do you still play the keyboard? I tell them, listen, I can't see myself as a musician in a studio. So I don't. This is what I want to do. I want to give my attention to it until I succeed in it. Because if you dissipate your attention like that, if you spread your attention and your energy, you don't succeed. So once you make that shift, once you make that decision, focus on that and focus till you succeed. And you should not worry any industry so far as the laws allow it, and so far as you have passion for that industry. It could be retail, it could be agriculture, it could be wholesale, it could be anything that you think there is market and there is need for it. That be ready to do. And don't let your background be a blockage. The fact that you went to school somewhere and worked I was working with Tallow. That should not stop you. That conviction should not stop you from starting your business. Because some people, because of the level of position that they had when they were employed, their pride becomes so much high that they can't see themselves starting from any level, which is beneath that. You cannot move from being an employee to starting a business if you have that kind of high knowledge of yourself. Because when you start a business, almost everybody will laugh at you. Almost everything around you will ridicule you. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, tons of them. Your pride will be broken. You will hit the bottom so many times. But you have to keep going. And then just one success will wipe off everything. And you become prominent in that. And so don't let that so-called exposure stop you from building that business. Don't let it. And it could be anything. It could be a cocoa farm business. It could be chili. It could be mango. It could be cassava that you can do. It could be retail. It could be selling tomato. It could be processing tomato. It could be computers. It could be whatever that you think there is a need for it. Even if it has to be second-hand clothes that you want to start, nobody really knows how any business started. What you really needed was to start. The force to start, the courage to start, the risk to take. That's what most people don't have. And it doesn't matter where you started. Just start something, especially if it's your business, if it's your first business. Anything that can make you start. The moment you start to think. You start to know, because usually even the area that you start may not necessarily be the area that you even build the business in. There'll be a lot of things that will come up. The product that you start with may not necessarily be that product that even you build a business around, because once you start to get the report from the market, the feedback from the customers, you start to shift. And that is what we call business modeling, So you have your idea of starting something, but when you go to the field, the market was demanding another one, and they were ready to pay for that. That is really what works. So you start, the essence is to test your idea, and you don't want to test your idea from a very high level. So some people have big money, they say that I want to start a business, then they go and buy car, they won't go and buy office, they put 10 people there, and they have not tested the idea. No, you don't need a lot of money spent to test the idea. You test the idea to know if the idea has a need, if the people are ready to pay for the idea, before you start to put money in that kind of business. So when the idea should be able to create the drive, the demand itself, then you will need money to put in. But you don't just go and put money in all these things and the idea, nobody wants it. And that's why I'm beating a lot of these people who think that they have studied business. It's no business if the idea is not in demand and people are not ready to pay for it. It's no business. And you test that gradually. So there's a shift. You have to shift your mind, and you have to reduce your pride, and you have to be ready for a lot of things, and you have to take the risk. And you must master how to manage the money, and possibly master how to manage the people. And you should have the knack to create the future, to think and to plan ahead. You should have that. And you should work on your ability to negotiate and convince people and sell your ideas. Market. You should be able to work on that. If you don't have that, then you should have somebody on your team who can do that for you. Your ability to present your case and convince people and negotiate, and you should be able to also train people. And don't get selfish, because you will only succeed by the team that you're able to build. The team that you're able to build and inspire. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you.